Now I just want to take just a few minutes and really just kind of give some initial thoughts from a lot of our discussions in the last couple of months. These are the initial opportunities that we see that are really worth exploring, that really could be the foundation or the building blocks for a future vision. Let's start with locational advantage. We have a locational advantage. We're sitting here between Madison and Milwaukee. Jefferson County can really leverage the strengths of both regions to keep our economy strong. So being here in between, how can Jefferson County best capitalize and connect to the most relevant economic initiatives with our neighbors to the east and west, as well as the state of Wisconsin? Second, food. A major driver, food production, a major driver of the county's economy. What long-term role can our farmers and food processors play in the regional food economy? How can we grow production and processing, targeting a regional population of 11 million people? Third, advanced manufacturing. We have a manufacturing-based county. Our businesses and workforce must keep up with the technology. There's no doubt about that if we want to stay in business. We really have the opportunity here to connect our corporations, our small and mid-sized businesses with like parties, with like industries, regional institutions, major initiatives, and innovators. And that's going to be key. And we're going to have to figure out how to best do that. Bioenergy. Another opportunity. This area has a growing cluster of market leaders, entrepreneurs, innovators in the bioeconomy. What technologies and synergistic business opportunities can we begin to propagate here in the county with this talent and with this infrastructure? Water. We're rich with water. Madison, you have Madison as kind of this limnology center and a thought leader on lake ecology, and Milwaukee positioning as a freshwater and Great Lakes center. How could Jefferson County help make the Rock River Basin a model of rural water quality and rivers? There's clearly, and you're going to hear more and more and more about it, I mean, one of the biggest global needs is going to be water, and in the coming years. And there's going to be a big thirst for the best practices and the best technologies and the businesses that can help advance and provide water to the globe. That is going to be a growing industry, and let's think about it. Can we grow some of those practices and businesses here in Jefferson County? Small town living. As mentioned, small town lifestyle is a big part of why many of you are all here. It's one of the great assets. This is attractive to more and more people. I think we can celebrate and really enhance our small town environment by focusing on our downtowns, by focusing on our schools and healthy living. Those are going to be keys over time to ensure that we are attractive to the workforce that is going to be needed to continue to fuel our businesses and our corporations, especially with a relatively large impending labor shortage. And finally, tourism. With all the natural and cultural assets that were mentioned, the river towns, places to fish, hunt, bike, paddle, we can grow and prepare our own local food. We have really a great opportunity to be a tourist destination to this close-to-home market of a rapidly growing regional population. That's going to be a very important opportunity in the future that fits, again, the landscape here. This collection are the initial opportunities that we and the core team have identified based, again, on our assets here in Jefferson County as well as the region. There's certainly going to be more. but this is where we're starting from, and we're going to look forward to your thoughts on the futures of these. So, where are we going from here? You know, the rest of the overall project process, obviously we need to get a lot of feedback. And through the rest of the process, we're going to be going through a lot of different mechanisms to begin to search out kind of the threads of opportunity within the ones that we've described today and others, kind of root out where the greatest opportunities lie. And then we're going to begin to craft that into an overall economic vision for the county. And then clearly from there, we need to build that into a comprehensive plan and set forth the implementation strategies to move things forward in those directions. I want to thank everybody. I know this was a lot of listening, and that's not always the easiest thing to do. We want to thank you for that, for your patience, your attention. We certainly hope that this was interesting. We hope it was thought-provoking. We hope that there's some ideas that the core team has been kind of gelling on, and we look forward to your thoughts. Thank you.
We would like to take questions. I think what we'll do is we'll take questions for all the members that spoke today, all the participants. So I guess the way we'll do it, if you have a specific question that you want to address to one of the speakers, please feel free to do that. Yes, ma'am.
Anyone consider rail? I mean, we've got a major rail line running north to south in here. We've got 4 separate rail lines coming into Watertown. None of your presentation, have you considered the growth of rail or lack of rail?
Well, I could speak for the work that I'm involved in. Yes, we are working quite diligently on rail. We know that we have several major transportation issues, especially with the Renew Energy location and the need for having rail transportation there. So recently the county board had supported some activities for pursuing rail initiative. So we are actually working and speaking almost as we're talking about what we can do to make sure that we have the rail infrastructure preserved and actually enhanced. So I don't know.
I do agree that it's a critical piece of infrastructure, and I think you're going to continue to see more and more freight on the rail lines. And I think we also have to keep in mind, obviously, it's on the table, and probably even more emphasis in the coming months and years on high-speed rail and what that means for Jefferson County.
I'll just add, from the capital region perspective, it is one of the key issues from the quality of life perspective that we're looking at is talking about transportation. So moving of people, moving of goods, what are the opportunities as it relates to this transportation infrastructure for these 8 counties in the capital region?
Yes.
I would just say, though, that going back with the rail, that the Madison Ready needs to work with Congresswoman Baldwin, because she's not willing to support this initiative in Washington, D.C. And if we want to move rail and passenger rail and all this forward, I think we need her on board as a strong supporter of this.
I would agree. We will absolutely need our federal leaders as well as our state leaders and local and county leaders. One of the things, just to clarify, is we're not specifically looking only at rail. It is, what are all of the regional transportation opportunities that we need to be looking at? And that's multimodal. That's roads, that's rail, that's bike paths, that's air. So what are all of those components of a regional transportation system? Because we've heard very clearly from folks, transportation is in fact regional, so we need to be looking at it comprehensively on a regional basis. But you're right, we will need the leadership and the support from leaders from at the state, federal, and county and local level too.
Generac, Black & Decker, and Evinrude Outboard Motors all started in garages. Can't do that anymore because the zoning doesn't allow it. I'd like to know what's being done to find affordable locations for young businesses in manufacturing. Ron Krieger tells me that the incubator building in Watertown is full, and I found it to be too expensive for my small business. And I was wondering what's being done there. Also, I'd like to tell you that small businesses, very small businesses like mine, do have value. While Schwager was going out of business in Jefferson, my two neighbors in the Jefferson Area Business Center, Legacy and McCloskey, were growing their furniture manufacturing. So I don't believe all this stuff about, everything's going to China manufacturing-wise. I think we can grow our own right here.
Actually, throw that question to someone who is actually working very diligently on an incubator and opportunities for small businesses to find space. And I don't know if we can get a microphone to Mo Hansen from Waterloo. But we've been working for probably the last several months on trying to refine this process on incubator, and I'll let you talk a little bit about the incubator.
Yep, very briefly, City of Waterloo received support and funding from Department of Commerce, and we're working on a business incubator feasibility study. We've got lots of space in Waterloo. You're all invited to come and take part in an initiative. We've made some contacts with the Village of Marshall, which is across the border in Dane County, and haven't had the conversation yet with Steve Wilkie, but we'd like to broaden the focus of our particular business incubator, partnering with entities like MATC, if there's representatives from MATC here, and other entities in the region to fashion a viable incubator. Waterloo, with the loss of the Perry Judd production a few years back, a lot of buildings, a lot of square footage, a lot of opportunity in Waterloo. So looking to partner with other folks in the county and the region on that, and there'll be more news on that going forward.
Thank you, Mo. We're also looking at other than Waterloo. We have, I think, someone from Ixonia, Jim Lotzer is here, who knows that we're actually looking at some opportunities there for a building for an incubator. So we've sort of discussed that a little bit too. But we're really, in my opening or the opening comments I made, and many of you who have worked with me know that I really value small business, and I think startups and entrepreneurship are extremely important. So we're looking at as many areas as we can. We're trying to get some of these facilities up and running, and hopefully there'll be some opportunities. Of course, zoning, to address your question specifically, zoning does govern some of these activities, and that's a fact of doing business.
When we send our young people out to MSOE and other colleges and educate them, and then they move on, they don't come back to Jefferson County, how do we get them back here and start their families here and make our Jefferson County better?
Just from just one perspective, I think, is that places like Jefferson County are going to have a difficult time for, there's going to be segments of those graduates that some they're going to go sow their oats. They're going to go out and do other things, and you want people to go out, gain, global experience, go to the city. But I think it's, and then there's some that are going to come back and work in their hometowns or work within the county. But I think it is really important to set the foundation when we talked about continuing to focus on the attributes of your small community so that these people, once they got through that period in life where you just got to get out and do things, that you come back and you raise your family, you bring in your experiences and the knowledges that you've gained over those years back to your community. I think that's where a lot of focus should be.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree. Actually, I'm extremely passionate about this area. The notion of brain drain you hear talked about a lot. We call this the phenomenon Rob's talking about, the boomerang. So people that leave and come back. I'd be the first one throwing that boomerang because I think you add value and experience when you do leave, as long as you can get a hook to get folks to come back. And I think it's how you're positioning yourselves to the people that do leave on why would they want to come back. Well, first and foremost, they got roots here. That's a real advantage. People go back to their roots. But what you also want to do is enhance the opportunities, both from the economic opportunities, the quality of life. People are looking for good places to raise their families, to also have that economic opportunity. It's very much at the core of this whole initiative we've been talking about for the Collaboration Council and READY is it's not either economic vitality or quality of life. You have to have both. And one of the things we did in a quick research study for this boomerang piece was specifically looking at UW-Madison alumni. We surveyed them throughout the country, and we asked many questions, but 3 summary ones were, if you're here, why didn't you leave? If you left, why did you leave? And if you've left, would you come back? And 61% said yes, they're looking at coming back. That's here to the Wisconsin capital region. So there's an interest in coming back, but we have to create what are the opportunities for people to do that. And I think it's strategic in what are the opportunities you're giving them for, given the creative economy that we're going into in a global context, what are the opportunities for innovation? How can they understand that starting their own business here, they've always wanted to think about starting a business, how can they do that here and why is here a good place to do that? Or if they own a business already, why would they move that business here? Or if they're just looking to move for an overall quality of life, why should they do that here? So I think you have to address, that's a target audience and looking to address that. And not that I'm the poster child for this by any means, but I moved here about 3.5 years ago. My wife and I were out in San Francisco after living on the East Coast. I grew up in small town Vermont. And our question before the specific job was, where do we want to live? We picked this place first, and we made the rest happen. And more friends I talk to are doing just that. They want that overall package of what do you have to offer. And one of the key reasons we picked this area, this part of the country, was the balance that it offers. Urban, rural, the lifestyle opportunities, the economic opportunities as well. So I would just suggest the answer is who's our target? If your target audience is the people that you want to get back here who are from here, that'll help you devise the strategies.
There are only about 10 of the 300 largest metro areas in this country that are net attractors of young talent. So talent, by and large, is going to a smaller and smaller group of cities. And so as we think in Milwaukee about economic development and talent attraction, we really don't think a ton about how do you get somebody right out of the university to stay in our city. What we think about is the longer term issue, which is just what the others have said as well, is we want the face of economic development to us is not the really sharply dressed 20-something who's spending a lot of time out on the town during the evenings and is working on highly sophisticated computer code during the day. The face of economic development to us is the couple that has maybe 2 or 3 kids that are in their 30s, now maybe into their 40s, and they're starting to understand that when they were the part of that flow of talent to these very large cities, they're now starting to flow back. And we want them to think about our region as a place where they can set down roots. And we really love the fact that even though they didn't stay with us after they were done with school, they have history with us. And that is a huge draw as it relates to talent attraction. I think from the Jefferson County perspective, the key will be transportation. The key will be if you have a dual income earning family, maybe one of them is in government, the other one's a lawyer, one wants to work in downtown Milwaukee, the other works in Madison. Can they live in a place like Jefferson County and have high quality of life? So that transportation issue is really paramount.
I'm going to add one more thing on that. Why don't you ask them? Ask that demographic. Engage them now. Put them on your committees. Put them on your councils. Get them engaged now, because it's not just give them a job. It's give them another reason to stay here. Connect them socially. Get them engaged civically. I think that's really important. Don't wait until someone has a title. Get them engaged now and ask them what they're looking for and what they'll need to stay here.
I'm from Whitewater, and we've straddled the 2 counties, Walworth Jefferson. We just went through a study, very similar study in Walworth County, opportunity study that Dr. David Ward from North Star Economics did for the county. And two of the big assets that we have for Walworth County, I'm assuming the same thing for Jefferson County. Number one is the presence of a thriving regional university at UW-Whitewater that has not been fully engaged in economic development opportunities, in my opinion, and we need to do more of that. The strength of UW-Whitewater is its business and its IT, and those are really strengths that we need to capitalize more on for our region. The other thing is the access to capital and the need to develop angel networks. And I'd really be interested in your comments on the development of sources of capital for young entrepreneurs for our area.
Well, I'm holding the mic. I'll just do my quick take on it. It's critical. It's absolutely critical. What are the needs? Access to capital, seasoned management, folks that have experience in starting and growing the companies. For the basic startups, it is absolutely that access to capital. There are a lot of efforts that have started in the state, the Wisconsin Angel Network, Wisconsin Entrepreneurs Network down at the state level, which I think need to be better connected at the regional level. And they're doing a good job in engaging. I think there's more and more opportunity to connect those. I would then start to think about what are the different phases of funding that you need. It's the seed money just to get it started, the angel capital, and then once you've got it growing, where's the VC money to grow it too? So I think it's absolutely critical. Don't have the exact answer for you. I do know that there's a need to continue to connect and grow those opportunities, and that's going to be at every region throughout the state and throughout the world. I don't know, what's Milwaukee doing these days on that?
We went out and saw earlier this year, or late part of 06 and early part of 07, we went out and saw about 45 companies that are biomedical manufacturers. So these on the high end, companies like GE Medical, on the low end, companies throughout the region that had 3 or 4 employees. And the access to capital issue we got consistently. When you go back to the bankers and you tell them, hey, they're telling us that they can't get any money, the banker answer is, yeah, they're awfully risky. And that's kind of the answer that you get from it. And so some of our traditional banking has been really centered on manufacturing. It's been centered on a model that really, I mean, we've grown up as a region around manufacturing, and all the support services that have grown up around it also support and understand manufacturing. So my belief is then that leads into some of the venture side of things, although there's a lot of companies that are not interested in that route. They're not interested in bringing venture financing into their company. The angel side of it is a little bit perhaps more amenable to them, and we have started to see more angel networks that have developed. I think the key is getting those ideas that may be bubbling up from here in the county in front of the Marquette Angels and some of the other folks that are forming these networks, because there is money out there. It's just a question of linking the opportunities with the dollars.
And I'll just add, too, you got to give the incentives. The Act 255 at the state level, I mean, there's a lot of discussion about increasing those levels, and I think it's actually it's going to happen. That's a great opportunity. Give people the incentive to invest in angel networks and then make those connections that probably don't happen naturally and get people connected.
I'm with you on all those points, but I do want to I completely agree with, and it's probably something we talked about, but we didn't highlight today. UW-Whitewater has to be a key economic ingredient in the future of Jefferson County. So I think thinking through what those opportunities are, how it links with an economic vision is going to be key. So I'm really glad you brought that up.
I think that as you look at the quality of life in our communities and as you look at economic development, don't leave the local public schools out. We have a strong investment. The cooperation between local and city government, the county government, the higher education institutions and whatever, investment in our public schools, we're producing for you that next workforce. And I didn't hear an awful lot today about local public schools, and you can bash us, and in some cases rightfully so. But we need the support of the local economy. We need the support of the local communities, the government agencies, etc., as we partner together. So I just caution you not to leave us out.
Well taken. and it's very clear to meet the impending labor shortages, and as well as to prepare for new business creation, and as well as the point that we talked about before, attracting that group of people back. Education is top on the minds of young families. They are going to choose a place that has a great K through 12 system. So it's got to be an important key, and it is an asset.
There's a reason we say business, education, nonprofit, government. Yes, yes, and yes. Have to have the engagement.
When people ask me what are the challenges Milwaukee faces, I give them, there's three: workforce, workforce, workforce. And that relates directly back to the education system. In southeastern Wisconsin, we have in the 7-county region 190,000 people who do not, over the age of 21, who do not have a high school diploma. That is a huge liability for us in terms of what are they qualified to do in terms of next economy sorts of jobs. That goes directly to the importance of K through 12 education.
Maybe on that note, we need to bring this to a close. We promised to get you out on time. But that is the key ingredient in this entire planning initiative, is to get a holistic vision, one that's diverse and can move our county forward, continue to have a vibrant economy, but to bring up things like transportation, the schools, and things that maybe weren't featured initially on these slides, so that the entire community will have this dialogue. And as we close, I'd like to thank the Star Cinema for making this room available to us, and also Bob Ream and Carlisle Real Estate, the Comfort Suites, for providing breakfast and co-sponsoring this event. I'd like to point out that we're very honored to have our state representatives here, both from the Department of Commerce, Steve Nass and Neil Kedzie, and I saw Andy Jorgensen was in the audience. He had to leave earlier. So with that, I think we will continue to contact you, to see you, hopefully at the tables as we move through this planning process. Thank you very much for coming.